I caught my groom in bed with another woman the night before our wedding, and I didn't cry. I smiled. I pressed record. And before sunrise, I quietly cut the strings holding his life together. By morning, the man who called me my queen would lose his crown, his cash flow, and the deals he bragged about in front of my friends. Before you judge me, hear what I heard behind that door. My name is Grace. I am 28. I built my business with tired hands and a stubborn heart in a big African city where traffic eats hours and people smile with hidden plans. I started with a small beauty line in a single shop. I sold hair oils from a market table. Then I added skincare. Then I grew into a company with a clean office, a glass boardroom, and staff who call me Madam Grace with bright faces. I learned about equity, cash flow, contracts, and risk. I learned that numbers don't lie even when people do. And I fell in love with Peter. He looked gentle. He spoke softly. He held my hand like I was a fragile glass cup. He said all the right words. I believe in you. I love your mind. I want to build with you. I let him in. I showed him my books. I showed him my plans, projections, and my brand roadmap. He said we would join forces, merge dreams, double revenue. I trusted him with my heart and then foolishly with my network. I was 5 months pregnant when we fixed the wedding date. My lawyers warned, protect your assets. I smiled and said, Peter is not like that. I shared my contacts. I introduced him to suppliers who respected my name. I linked him to 2 investors who trusted my due diligence. I opened doors that took me years to find. He walked in with my keys. On the wedding eve, we stayed in separate hotels like the elders advised. The day was long, fittings, rehearsals, aunties, cousins, the makeup trial that went wrong and had to be wiped off twice, the calls from the decorator begging for more time, the DJ sending playlists, my mother praying for peace. I was tired but happy. I wanted to surprise Peter with a gift, a gold wristwatch, clean and simple, the kind that sits quiet but says, I'm ready. I wanted to write a small note, forever is today. His hotel was only 10 minutes from mine. The night air was soft and warm. The city hummed. I wore a big hoodie over my dress and carried the watch in a velvet box. I reached his floor. I walked down the carpet. I could hear music coming from a room at the end of the hall. Soft, sweet, romantic. I smiled. I thought, he is thinking of me. I stopped at his door. I didn't knock. I didn't have to. The door was not fully closed. There was a small gap, like someone had been too excited to turn the lock. Through that tiny gap, I saw movement. A hand. A shoulder. Then the curve of a woman's back. My heart did not break. It froze. The music grew louder. I heard a laugh that was not mine. I heard Peter's voice, low, sweet, the voice that once calmed me when deals went wrong. Baby, relax, he said. Tomorrow is just business. Business. The word hit me like cold rain. I stepped back. I held the wall. My baby kicked. I put a hand on my belly to calm us both. Then I reached into my bag. My phone. Camera on. Record. I lifted it slowly to the gap. I did not want to see their faces. I didn't need to. I wanted his words. I wanted proof of what my mind already knew, but my heart refused to accept. The woman giggled. She asked a question, voice small and curious, like a child asking for sugar. Are you sure about this wedding? She said. Peter's answer came without shame. Yes. Grace is pregnant, he said. It's safer this way. Her name will open more doors for me. After she gives birth, I'll end it quietly. She is strong. She will be fine. She. He called me she like I was a project plan. The woman asked, what about your company? My company? He laughed. She is the company. Her network, her money, her contracts. She has liquidity. She has brand value. My ROI with her is high for now. For now. I closed my eyes, but I left the phone recording. My breath was steady. My brain moved fast, like I was back in a boardroom watching numbers fall on a screen. I remembered the first time I used my name to help him. A supplier who only answered my calls agreed to extend Peter's credit terms from 30 days to 60. Because it's you, the man had said. Because it's me. I remembered introducing Peter to two serious investors, people who asked hard questions and listened when I spoke about market size, margins, and risk controls. They trusted me, not him. But I had stood beside him and said, "We are building together." They smiled and signed. Behind the door, Peter kept talking. I did not listen to all the words. I heard enough. I heard the plan to use me as a bridge. I heard the promise to cross and never look back. I heard the man I loved turn me into a line item. I didn't cry. I stopped the recording. I stepped away from the door. The box in my hand felt heavy, like a brick. I walked to the elevator. I pressed the button. I watched the numbers fall. My reflection in the mirror walls looked calm, almost cold. But inside me, something quiet and fierce woke up like a lion that had been sleeping too long. The night air hit my face as I stepped outside. The city smelled of petrol and fried plantain. Somewhere, a bus honked. Somewhere, a woman laughed. Life went on. I held my belly. "You are safe," I whispered to my child. "Mama knows what to do." In the car, I called my lawyer. He picked on the second ring, voice rough with sleep. "Grace." "Cancel the court marriage," I said. "No questions. I'll explain tomorrow." Silence. Then a sigh. "Consider it done." I called Investor One, the older man who loved numbers more than noise. He answered like he was waiting for news. "Is everything set for tomorrow?" "Pull out," I said. "Effective now. No more capital for Peter. His market story is not real. His valuation is smoke. Close your tap." A pause. "I trust your nose," he said. "I'm out." I called Investor Two, the young woman with sharp eyes who hates lies. "Hello, Grace," she said. "Bride not sleeping." "Pull your funds," I said. "And tell your legal to send a notice of withdrawal tonight." She did not ask why. She said, "Already typing." I sent 2 emails to my biggest corporate partners who were weeks away from signing supply contracts with Peter's new company. I wrote in clean, simple words, "Do not proceed. My team has updated risk assessment. We advise no engagement at this time." I copied my legal head. I attached a short note, "Reasons follow in the morning." I took a deep breath. My hands shook, but not from fear. From focus. My phone buzzed. Peter. I let it ring once, twice. Then I picked. "Love," he said, voice warm like soup. "Are you okay? Big day tomorrow. I miss you." "I'm perfect," I said. "Just fine." He laughed. "I can't wait to see you walk down the aisle." "Me too," I lied. We ended the call. I leaned my head back on the car seat. The driver said nothing. He is the kind of man who understands that silence can be a blanket. He dropped me at my hotel. I went straight to my room. I took off the hoodie. I washed my face. I looked at my eyes in the mirror. They looked older. Not weak. Wiser. I sat on the bed and opened my laptop. I backed up the recording to 3 different places. I wrote a short statement for tomorrow in case my mouth failed me. I slept for 2 hours. The kind of sleep that feels like falling into a dark river and coming up with clean skin. At dawn, the sky was pale blue. The city woke up with a slow stretch. My mother came to my room with hot tea and soft bread. She blessed my head with her hands and kissed my cheek. "Today is your joy," she said. "Amen," I said, and my voice did not crack. My phone pinged, email replies. Investor 1, funds withdrawn. Investor 2, capital pulled and notice sent. My lawyer, court filing cancelled. You are free. Free. I dressed. The dress was simple and pure and made by a woman who understood strength. The fabric hugged my growing body. I tied my hair in a low bun. I wore no necklace. I wore the face of a woman who knows her worth. On the way to the church, the city rushed past. Yellow buses, hawkers with trays, men in suits walking fast, women with babies tied to their backs, dusty roads mixing with clean glass buildings. It was the city that taught me to sell, to save, to fight. It was also the city that taught me that love is not a business model, but sometimes it must be audited. The church was full. Friends. Family. People who love me. People who love drama. People who love pictures. The band played slow music. The air smelled of flowers and perfume. Peter stood at the front in a blue suit, handsome like a promise. He looked at me with soft eyes as I walked in. The congregation sighed. Cameras clicked. My baby turned in my belly, as if to say, "Mama, we are ready." I reached the front. I took Peter's hands. They were warm. He smiled. My throat tightened. Not with love. With the weight of what I was about to do. Before the vows, the pastor asked if anyone had anything to say. This was the line we all know. The line that opens the door to truth or trouble. I stepped forward. "Please," I said, voice steady. "Before we continue, I need to share something." The church went quiet. Even the band stopped by itself, as if the drums knew. I pulled out my phone. My hand did not shake. I looked at Peter. His soft eyes dimmed a little, like someone had turned down a light. I played the recording. His voice filled the room. "Tomorrow is just business. After she gives birth, I'll end it quietly. She is the company. My ROI with her is high for now." Gasps. A chair moved. Someone whispered, "Jesus." My mother covered her mouth. The investors I had invited were not there. They were home, already reading legal letters. But my aunties were, and their eyes sharpened. Peter reached for my arm. I stepped back. "I built my empire with sweat," I said, voice clear. "I gave love from a real place. I will not be used like a ladder to be thrown away." I took off the small ring he had given me during our engagement and placed it in his palm. I closed his fingers around it. My face was calm. My heart was quiet. My future was mine again. Then I turned. I walked down the aisle, past the cameras, past the flowers, past the crowd who now sat like stone. I felt the eyes on my back. I felt the child inside me settle, like he understood that his mother had just closed a door and opened another. Outside, the air was bright. The city was loud again. I breathed in. I tasted freedom like cold water. This is not the end. It is the beginning of my silent revenge. By noon, Peter's smile had vanished from every room he walked into, not because I shouted, but because truth moved faster than any wedding car. My phone kept buzzing. Some messages were pity. Some were gossip. Most were silent dots, people typing and deleting. I turned my phone face down and told myself one thing: protect the baby, protect the business. Outside the church, the city was in full heat. Honks. Street sellers. The smell of roasted corn. I stood under a tree and breathed slowly. My driver, David, opened the car door. He did not look at me in the mirror as we drove. He just said in a low voice, "Madam Grace, seatbelt." I smiled and clicked it. Small kindnesses are bridges on hard days. My mother called. I answered. She did not cry. She said, "You did well. Come home. We will cook soup. We will pray. The baby needs calm." I told her I would pass by the office first. She sighed, but she knew me. Work is my clean air. At the office, the guard stood straighter than usual. He held the door for me like I was a queen returning from war. My receptionist, Joy, ran toward me and stopped herself from hugging me when she saw my face. I touched her arm. "I'm fine," I said. "Please call a quick meeting. Boardroom in 10 minutes. She nodded and flew. The glass boardroom looked the way I loved it. Clear table, neat chairs, the city wide and loud through the big windows. My team walked in, one by one. Tund, operations head. Ada, finance. Mr. Brown, my lawyer, eyes red from lack of sleep but steady. Joy with a notepad and trembling lips. I stood at the head of the table. My body was tired. My mind was awake. I spoke simply. "You all saw or heard what happened. We will not hide. We will not fight dirty. We will protect the brand, our cash flow, and each other. We will move like water, quiet and strong." Ada slid a folder to me. "I started a risk check at dawn," she said. "No changes in our vendor payments. No strange transactions from our accounts. But there is something you should see." She pushed another paper forward. It was a copy of a term sheet. The header had Peter's company name. My name was mentioned as strategic guarantor. My eyes narrowed. Who signed this? Not you, Mr. Brown said quickly. We checked the signature. It is a bad copy. They tried to use a scanned version from an old NDA you signed last year for samples. They stretched it. It won't pass a compliance review. Heat rose in my chest, but not as anger. As fuel. We will file a fraud notice to the bank and the regulator, I said. Today. Attach the audio. Attach the signature analysis. Make it cold and clean. Already in draft, Mr. Brown said. I will file before close of business. Tund, I turned, please call our logistics partners. Tell them if Peter or any of his team call for credit or use my name, they should log the call and inform us. No drama, just an audit trail. Done, Tund said. He was a man of few words. That is why I kept him near. Joy, I said gently, please prepare a short internal memo. 2 paragraphs. We stand by our values. We do not mix our company with private trouble. We protect our clients and staff. All operations continue as normal. Keep it warm, not weak. Joy wiped her eyes and nodded fast. I took a breath. Now listen, all of you. We will not attack publicly. We will not post. We will not feed gossip. We will let numbers speak. Investors have already pulled out of Peter's deal. The 2 big contracts he wanted are cancelled. His burn rate is high. His runway is short. His valuation was story and smoke. Liquidity will dry up by the end of the month. That is not my noise. That is math. Silence. Then small nods, like heads agreeing with gravity. Ada cleared her throat. There's more, she said softly. Peter listed our home address on a bank form as his office. He didn't list his own address. It's a small bank. They didn't verify well. I felt a cold wave pass through me and then settle. We will fix it, I said. Send them a correction letter now. Copy legal. Attach my title deed. Numbers win and paper wins. The door opened. A young woman stood there. I knew her, but from a distance. Clara. She had interned with us last year. Smart. Quiet eyes. She had left to work with a marketing firm after her internship. She looked tense. Madam, I asked Joy if I could come in, she said. It's about Peter. Tund turned in his chair. Mr. Brown leaned forward. I nodded. Speak. Clara took a step closer and placed a small envelope on the table. I used to help Peter's team with social media work, freelance. He didn't know I had interned here. He just said he liked my design style. Her voice shook, but she kept going. Yesterday, he asked me to schedule paid posts for next week saying your company and his had merged. He gave me a fake press release. He wanted it to look like you gave him equity and that he would drive strategy for you. For a second, the room felt smaller. Then I heard my own voice, calm. Thank you, Clara. You did well to come. There's also this, she said, tapping the envelope. Printed emails. He was going to announce a joint venture at your wedding reception. The plan was to put you on stage, hug you, and show slides. He wanted the crowd to film it. He thought if the video trended, investors would rush back. He wrote that he would lock the narrative before you noticed. Joy made a small sound, a hurt bird sound. I placed a hand on the table to steady it all. The past night flashed again, his words in that quiet room, the giggle that wasn't mine, the way he made me a line on a profit and loss sheet. The joint venture lie would have been a public chain around my neck. Mr. Brown collected the envelope. We'll add this to our file, he said. Clara, can you write a short statement? Yes, she said. I'm sorry, Madam Grace. I didn't know. You owe me nothing, I said. You did the right thing by coming. Clara left. The room held a new weight and a new light at the same time. I straightened my back. We will send a press note at 4 p.m., I said. Short and sharp. No merger. No joint venture. No equity exchange. Our brand stands alone. We respect lawful business. We warn against misrepresentation. We will pursue any fraud. No names. No heat. Just facts. Agreed, Mr. Brown said. After that, I added, I will go home. I will eat. I will rest. The baby comes first. Ada smiled for the first time that day. Yes, madam. We ended the meeting with action points. It felt like a Monday morning before a big launch, not the day after a broken wedding. Work is a kind friend. It gives the heart a place to sit. As I walked out of the boardroom, my phone buzzed again. This time it was not a rumor. It was a bank alert. Not debit. Credit. A large payment into my company account from one of our biggest retailers. They paid early. The memo said, "We trust you." I stood by the window and let the city noise wash over me. Trust is expensive. When people pay it forward, hold it like gold. Peter called. I knew he would. I picked. Grace, please, he started, voice hoarse, pride cracked. Let's talk. People are calling me. You embarrassed me. You ruined me. How could you? I cut in, gentle but steel. I did not ruin you. You lied. You planned a fake merger. You tried to use my name as leverage. You broke our private contract, love. Don't call this embarrassment. Call it audit. He exhaled hard. I love you, he said, and the words sounded like someone reading a script. No, I said. You loved my access. A long silence. Then he tried a new door. We can still fix the business side, he said quickly. We can sign a new term sheet. You can endorse my pitch. We keep our faces calm and let the market forget. Damage control. People forget fast. Markets forget noise, I said. They do not forget fraud. Investors pulled out. Contracts are cancelled. Banks will review your file. If you are wise, hire a good accountant. Cut your burn. Pay your staff what you owe. Start again. Without me. His breath went thin. Who told the investors? He asked, like a man chasing a shadow. I did, I said. I told the truth. Goodbye, Peter. I ended the call and blocked his number. Peace is also a strategy. On my way out, I walked through the production floor. The machines hummed. Bottles moved down the line. Women in hair nets laughed softly as they worked. One saw me and lifted a thumb. I lifted mine back. Work goes on, I thought. Love may fail. Hustle cannot. In the lobby, I found a bouquet of white flowers. No card. I told Joy to give it to the front desk for visitors. I stepped outside into the heat. The sky sat white on the city like a sheet. A small girl selling water held up a sachet to me through the car window. I bought two. I drank one slowly, feeling the cold run clean through my chest. At home, my mother had cooked okra soup the way I liked, soft, green, and full of life. We ate in silence, then we laughed, and then we were silent again, the way families are when the heart is heavy but the room is safe. After lunch I slept, really slept, the kind that pulls you under and stitches your inside. When I woke, the house was quiet. The fan spun. The baby kicked, gentle like a small knock on a door. I put my palm there and smiled. We are fine, I whispered. We are more than fine. At 4 p.m., our press note went out. Clean. Calm. No names. Just facts. 10 minutes later, my phone started to buzz again. Clients, partners, even a journalist who respected me. Strong note, one text read. Proud of you, said another. We stand, wrote a third. I felt a steady warmth fill my chest. Reputation is a savings account. You build it day by day, and on rainy days, it shelters you. Then came the twist I did not see. An unknown number sent a short message and a picture. The message said, you need to know who she is. The picture loaded slow. A hotel hallway. A face turned slightly away but clear enough. The woman from last night. Not a stranger. Not a random flame. It was Sandra. Sandra, the cousin of my bridesmaid. Sandra, who had smiled at me during dress fittings and said, Sister, you glow. Sandra, who asked about my vendors and laughed about wedding cake flavors. Sandra, who walked with me to the car 2 days ago and held my veil so it didn't touch the ground. For a moment the room tilted. Then it steadied. I did not shake. I did not break. I only felt a deep, old lesson return. Betrayal rarely comes from outside the gate. It slips in with a familiar face. I saved the picture in a new folder called Evidence. I did not reply. I did not call anyone. I stood and looked out the window at the city, at roads that cross and merge and split again. My life would not break here. It would bend and take a cleaner road. I walked to my desk and opened a new document. Title, Plan for Tomorrow. Bullet points. Lawyer meeting. Bank meeting. Supplier check-in. Staff wellness note. Personal appointment with my doctor. A small line at the end, buy fresh flowers for the house. I closed the laptop. I placed a hand on my belly. I smiled a small smile that felt like sunrise starting somewhere deep. This was not noise. This was direction. Peter had written, lock the narrative. He thought a stage and a microphone were power. He forgot the simplest truth I learned in the market years ago. Numbers and character are the real microphone. They carry farther than any speaker. Tomorrow, I would return one last time, to the venue that should have been a reception. Not for tears. Not for drama. For order. For dignity. For my staff who set up and for the vendors who waited. I would close every open bill, return every gift, and speak 4 calm sentences that would end this chapter like a clean line on a ledger. Silent revenge is not loud. It is neat. And I am neat. The hall was decorated, the food was cooked, the band was tuned, but the bride never arrived. That was the whisper that rolled through the city like smoke. In our culture, weddings are not just about 2 people. They are about families, communities, and pride. People had gathered with wrappers, geli, fine suits, and cameras ready to record history. What they saw instead was silence. I sat in the back seat of my car, watching from a distance as guests walked into the reception hall with expectation. Some looked confused, some restless, some already angry. The vendors I had paid were lining trays of jollof rice, fried chicken, goat pepper soup, and chilled drinks. The MC held his microphone but kept glancing at his watch. This was supposed to be the celebration of my empire merging with Peter's dream. But today, it would become the funeral of his ambition. I told my driver, David, to stop. Stay here, I said. I will go in myself. Inside, the band struck a song as if I had entered in a white gown, but I lifted my hand and the drums slowed. All eyes turned. Gasps rippled like waves across the hall. They saw me, not in my bridal dress but in a plain blue gown, simple earrings and flat shoes. My face was calm, my step steady. The baby inside me moved, and I took it as courage. I climbed the stage. The MC tried to hand me the microphone, his smile stiff. I shook my head and held the mic myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, and the hall went quiet. Even the fans seemed to stop spinning. Thank you for coming to what should have been a union. But today, there is no union. There is only truth. Murmurs. Some leaned forward. Some pulled out phones. I allowed it. Let them record. Last night, I found my groom where no bride should find her husband, I said. Gasps filled the room. With another woman. And I heard words that burned deeper than fire. He said this marriage was business, that I was his key to contracts, investors and capital. That after I gave birth, he would end it. Faces twisted in disbelief. Aunties shook their heads. Men looked at Peter's empty chair. I raised my hand. I am not here to cry. I am here to clear the air. My company stands alone. There is no merger. There is no joint venture. Any rumor that says otherwise is fraud. I pulled a sheet of paper from my bag, my prepared statement. Investors have withdrawn. Contracts are cancelled. Banks have been notified. As of today, any attempt to use my name for business is a crime. And I will fight with law, not noise. Silence. Then, a slow clap from the back. It was Investor 2, the young woman with sharp eyes. She had come after all. She stood and clapped louder. That is how you protect a brand, she said. Others joined, not because they were happy, but because they respected courage. I looked around the hall one last time. Eat, drink, and celebrate life if you wish, I said. I have paid for everything. But the bride has left this marriage before it began. And she leaves with her dignity. I placed the microphone back on the stand. I did not wait for Peter. I did not wait for questions. I walked down from the stage, through the wide-eyed crowd, past the plates of food, past the band with their confused drums. My steps echoed like a drum of their own. Outside, the air hit me like a clean slap. Freedom. But just as I reached the car, I heard my name. I turned. Sandra was there. Her face pale, her gelly loose, her hands shaking. She looked at me like a child caught stealing. "Grace, please," she whispered. "It's not what you think." I looked at her and said nothing. She wanted my tears, my questions, my anger. I gave her silence. Silence is heavier than insults. I entered the car and told David to drive. As we pulled away, I knew this was only the beginning. The investors may have left him. The contracts may have died. But Peter was not the kind of man to fold quietly. Men who build their lives on lies always fight hardest when the truth cuts their rope. And Sandra had her own reasons. Reasons I would soon discover. But for now, I leaned back, closed my eyes, and whispered to myself, silent revenge is already working. By Monday morning, the city was already buzzing with the story. What should have been the talk of a beautiful wedding had turned into whispers about betrayal, fraud, and a groom who lost everything before the honeymoon. News travels fast in this city, especially when money and reputation are involved. Peter's phone would not stop ringing. First, it was his mother, then friends, then business partners demanding explanations. By noon, it wasn't calls of concern anymore, it was calls of withdrawal. His empire, which was built on my name, began to crumble like dry bread. Investor one called me first, his voice calm, like a doctor giving a diagnosis. "Grace," he said, "I've reviewed everything you told me. I pulled my money. I sent a formal notice. Peter tried calling me 7 times today. I won't pick." "Thank you," I said softly. "Capital is trust, and trust is broken." He sighed. "You built your brand with discipline. That boy thought brand was noise. Now he will learn the difference between cash flow and cash illusion." Investor 2 sent me a screenshot of Peter's text messages. "It's just a misunderstanding. Grace will calm down. The contracts are still valid if you stay." She replied with one line, "I don't invest in fraud." Then she blocked him. At his office, Peter tried to put on a brave face. He called his small team together, 2 marketers, a logistics assistant, and a secretary. "Don't believe the rumors," he said, pacing the floor. "The wedding fallout is private. The business is intact. Contracts are still coming. Investors will return once the dust settles. We just need to push harder, sell harder." But the secretary interrupted. "Sir, the suppliers have frozen credit. They said Madam Grace advised them." His face turned red. "She can't stop me," he shouted. "She thinks she's the only one who knows business. I will prove her wrong." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't anger, it was fear. Because he had no liquidity, no access to new capital, and no clean record to attract investors. His runway was only 3 months, and payroll was already late. While Peter fought fires, Sandra sat in a cafe across town, scrolling through her phone nervously. She had not expected me to expose everything so boldly. She thought I would cry quietly, marry Peter anyway, and let him use me until he grew strong enough to throw me away. But now she was also stuck. People had seen her at the hotel that night. If her name spread, her family would cut her off. She started drafting a message to me, "Grace, let's talk. Please. You don't know the full story." She typed and deleted it 3 times. Finally, she put her phone down and whispered to herself, "Peter promised me too." While Peter panicked, I moved with calm precision. That morning, I sat in my office sipping warm tea while Ada, my finance head, updated me. "Madam, our corporate partners responded," she said. "They thanked us for the warning. They said they will never link your name with Peter's again. In fact, one of them offered to expand their contract with us since they see you as more stable." "That is good," I said. "Stability is more powerful than speed." I opened my notebook and wrote in bold letters, "Protect assets. Expand market. Stay silent." That evening, Peter called me from another number. I picked, and his voice was sharp, desperate. Grace, you've gone too far. You embarrassed me in front of the whole city. My family is ashamed. My staff are leaving. Do you want me to go bankrupt? I stayed quiet for a moment, then said, I don't want anything for you, Peter. I only protect what is mine. You lost the business because you built it on lies. Not because of me. You can still fix this, he begged. One statement from you saying we are fine, just one. Investors will return. Contracts will be restored. I promise, after the baby, we can work it out. I laughed lightly, not out of joy, but out of disbelief. Peter, I am not your press release. I am not your cash flow. I am not your second chance. This conversation is over. I ended the call and blocked that number too. Later that night, while I was going through emails, another message popped up. Anonymous. No subject. Just a short line. Peter is not just betraying you. He owes dangerous people. Be careful. Attached was a scanned document, an unofficial loan agreement with a local moneylender. The amount was huge. The interest was choking. The due date? In 3 weeks. I leaned back in my chair, my heart steady. Silent revenge had already broken his business. But now, I realized his downfall would not only be financial. It would be dangerous. And somehow, Sandra was also tied to it. By dawn, Peter's lies were no longer private whispers. They were debts written in ink. The anonymous email about the loan agreement haunted me. I knew the lender's name. In this city, he was not just a lender, he was a storm. People called him Mr. Felix, but behind his back, they called him the collector. His reputation was simple: pay or lose peace. At 8 a.m., Peter sat in his office with his head in his hands. His secretary had quit, leaving a short note: Sir, I cannot stay in a sinking ship. Please settle my last salary. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered, voice shaky. Mr. Peter, the man said. His tone was calm but heavy. This is Felix. Your loan matures in 3 weeks. Interest must be cleared today. Balance by due date. I don't like excuses. Peter stammered, I know. I'm working on fresh capital. The investors will come back. Felix cut him off. Investors don't pay me. You do. If I don't see payment by noon, consider your assets public. And you know what that means. The call ended. Peter slammed his phone on the desk, his chest tight. He had no liquidity, no contracts, and now no time. Meanwhile, Sandra sat in her small apartment, replaying the video of me exposing Peter in church. Her face appeared in one corner of the recording. The cameras had caught her by accident. Comments under the video online were already circling. Who is that woman? Side chick at the wedding? Her phone buzzed with a message from Peter. Meet me tonight. We need to fix this. Bring whatever you can. I'm finished without you. She typed back, Peter, you promised me to. You said once you married Grace, we would build together. Now what am I? No reply. She threw the phone on her bed and buried her face in her hands. At my office, Ada gave me fresh updates. Madam, 2 new retailers want to stock our product after seeing how you handled the scandal. They said your discipline in canceling the wedding publicly gave them confidence in your brand. I nodded. That is how markets work. Stability is profit. Noise is loss. I told her to draft new contracts, but inside, I was thinking about Felix. If Peter truly owed him, trouble was coming. And when trouble comes in business, it spills into everything: family, friends, even rivals. I whispered to myself, protect the baby. Protect the company. Do not step into his fire. By late afternoon, Peter drove across the city, knocking on doors of people who once respected him. At one office, an old partner told him coldly, Peter, I only trusted you because Grace introduced you. Without her, you are zero. At another, an investor laughed in his face. You sold us dreams. Dreams without Grace are empty. Don't call me again. Each rejection was another nail in the coffin of his fake empire. That night, he met Sandra in a dim bar. He held her hand tightly. Sandra, listen. You're the only one left. If you still believe in me, sell your car. Take a loan. I promise when I rise again, I'll take you with me. Sandra pulled her hand back. You used Grace. You used me. What if you're only using words again? His eyes turned wild. Because if you don't help me, Felix will come. And when he comes, it won't be business. While Peter begged Sandra, I was at home writing a new plan in my notebook. Expand distribution to new retailers. Double-check legal shield against Peter's fraud attempts. Secure baby's trust fund before delivery. Then just before midnight, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. Short and sharp. Peter is about to sell shares of your company to pay his debt. He forged documents. Watch closely. My chest went cold, but my face remained calm. I knew then that my silent revenge was not yet complete. This was not just betrayal of the heart, it was attempted theft of my empire. And this time, the war would not be private. The message came like a hammer at midnight. Peter is about to sell shares of your company to pay his debt. He forged documents. Watch closely. I sat at my desk, the light from my laptop soft on my face, the baby turning gently inside me. For a moment, I closed my eyes and breathed. Peter's betrayal of my love was already deep, but this, trying to steal my business, was an open battle. The next morning, I called Mr. Brown, my lawyer. I sent him the screenshot of the message. Meet me at the office now, he said. His voice was tight. By 9 a.m., he was in my boardroom with files spread out. Ada and Tun joined us. Mr. Brown pulled out a set of documents he had retrieved from the Corporate Affairs Commission. Grace, he said, your instincts were right. Peter filed a fraudulent amendment last week. He submitted papers showing he owned 40% of your company. He attached a forged signature, yours. Ada gasped. Tun slammed his fist on the table. This man is mad. But I stayed calm. Will it hold? No, Mr. Brown said. It's sloppy. Wrong ink, wrong stamp. But if he had succeeded in selling those fake shares to Felix, it could have dragged you into court for years. Even false claims can scare away investors. I leaned back. Then we trap him. Quietly. We drafted a plan. 1. Official notice. By noon, Mr. Brown would file a public disclaimer at the registry. It would state clearly, Grace Enterprises has not sold or transferred any shares. Any document suggesting otherwise is fraudulent and void. 2. Silent bait. Ada would ask a trusted contact to pose as an interested buyer of Peter's shares. We wanted evidence of him trying to sell what he didn't own. 3. Investor shield. Tun would send a comm memo to all partners. Ignore any rumors about ownership changes. The company remains fully intact. By 2 p.m., the net was set. That same evening, Peter sat in a small cafe with 2 men, Felix's boys. He placed the forged papers on the table, his hands trembling. Look, he said. 40% stake in Grace Enterprises. This is my collateral. If Felix clears my debt, I'll transfer it to him. Her company is solid, retail growth, international contracts coming. This is gold. One of the boys scanned the papers and frowned. This signature looks weak. Peter forced a laugh. She signed in a rush. The marriage stress. But it's real. The boy sent a photo of the papers to Felix. 10 minutes later, Peter's phone buzzed. Felix's voice came through cold and flat. I'll check with my people. Don't leave the city. Peter wiped his face with a napkin, sweat pouring. He thought he was close to saving himself. He didn't know he had just walked into my trap. By the next morning, the disclaimer was already live at the registry. My lawyer sent copies to every bank, investor, and partner. It was official. Any attempt to trade my company's shares was fraud. At the same time, Ada's contact, the bait, met Peter pretending to be a buyer. He recorded their whole conversation. Peter bragged, yes, Grace is tough, but she still loves me. She won't drag me to court. If you buy now, you'll own part of her empire without stress. That recording landed on my desk by evening. Proof. Clean, sharp proof. I smiled for the first time in days. While I was tightening the net, Sandra showed up at my office unannounced. Security almost turned her away, but I told them to let her in. She looked worn, her makeup faded, her eyes red. She sat across from me, fingers twisting in her lap. "Grace," she whispered, "I didn't come to fight. I came to confess." I folded my hands and waited. "Peter lied to me too," she said. "He promised me he would marry me after you. He said you were only for business, that I was his real love. He used me to distract you while he built fake deals behind your back. I swear, I didn't know how far he would go." Her words were weak, but I could see her guilt was real. I leaned forward. "Sandra, listen to me. You are part of the wound, but you are not the knife. The knife is Peter. If you want forgiveness, then help me stop him. Tell me everything." She nodded quickly, tears spilling. "He has meetings with Felix's men tomorrow. He wants to hand them those forged shares. He thinks Felix will protect him if he gives them something big. That's all I know." I stood, calm but firm. That is enough. That night, I sat by my window watching the city lights blink. My heart was steady, but I knew the storm was only beginning. Peter was cornered. Felix was circling. Sandra had turned into an unwilling witness. And me? I was not just a bride anymore. I was a businesswoman protecting her empire, her child, and her name. Silent revenge had already broken his wedding. Now it would break his empire. But deep down, I sensed something bigger. Felix was not the kind of man to walk away empty-handed. And when he realized Peter had nothing to give, he would come hunting. I whispered to myself, tomorrow, the game changes. The city never sleeps, but that night it seemed like it was holding its breath. I knew Felix would not let Peter's tricks slide. A man like him dealt in numbers and fear, and Peter had given him both lies and wasted time. By mid-morning, Peter sat in his office pretending to work. His desk was piled with papers, most of them useless. His eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. Suddenly, 3 black SUVs pulled up outside his building. Doors opened. Men in dark shirts stepped out, their faces blank. The receptionist panicked and called upstairs. "Sir, men are here for you." Peter rushed to the window. His stomach twisted. Felix had come. The office door burst open. Felix walked in slowly, wearing a white kaftan, gold wristwatch shining, his face calm like a man walking into his own home. 2 men flanked him. "Peter," he said softly, almost kindly. "You waste my time." Peter jumped up, sweating. "Sir, I can explain." "No need," Felix cut him off. "You tried to pay me with forgery. Do you think I don't check signatures? Do you take me for a fool?" Peter's lips trembled. It was temporary, just until Felix raised his hand, and silence filled the room. He leaned closer. "In business, credibility is capital. You have none. That means you are finished." The men behind him cracked their knuckles. Peter's knees almost gave way. At that same moment, Sandra was at home pacing. Her phone buzzed. It was Peter. She answered, voice sharp. "Come to my office now," Peter barked. "Felix is here. Tell him the papers are real. Tell him you saw Grace sign them." Sandra froze. "What? Peter, are you mad? You want me to lie to a man like Felix?" "If you don't," Peter hissed, "we're both finished. He knows you're part of this." Her heart pounded. She remembered Felix's name from whispers, stories of shops shut down, cars seized, men disappearing. She grabbed her bag and ran out. By the time she arrived at Peter's office, Felix was still seated calm, watching Peter squirm. She walked in, trembling. Felix turned to her. You're the woman in the church video, yes?" Sandra's throat went dry. "Why yes, sir." "Tell me," Felix said, eyes sharp. "Did Grace sign those papers?" Sandra looked at Peter, then at Felix. Her voice shook. "No, sir. It was forged. Grace would never sign that." Peter's mouth dropped. "Sandra. You." Felix stood. His smile was thin. "Good. I prefer truth. At least someone here has sense." He turned to Peter. "You have 3 days. Pay half the loan, or I collect in another way." Then he walked out, leaving Peter trembling in his chair, betrayal burning in his eyes. While Peter fought Felix, I was in a polished conference room downtown with Mr. Brown and 2 government officers from the corporate fraud unit. On the table lay the recording of Peter offering fake shares to Ada's contact. One officer, a tall man with glasses, said, "Madam Grace, you've been wise. If you had not exposed this early, he could have dragged your name through the mud. With this evidence, we can move for attempted fraud charges." I nodded. But I don't want noise. I want law. Let the papers speak louder than me. Mr. Brown smiled. And they will. We'll file a petition tomorrow. That night, Peter called Sandra again, voice broken. "You betrayed me," he said. "I told the truth," she replied coldly. "You never loved me. You used me. Now you face what you built." Peter went silent for a long time. Then he said, "Grace destroyed me. But I will not fall alone." Sandra's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" But he ended the call. At home, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, the city lights twinkling below. My mother hummed softly in the kitchen. The baby kicked gently, as if reminding me, "Mama, we are strong." I whispered, "Yes, we are. We fight with silence. We win with patience." I knew Felix would come back to Peter. I knew the law was already circling. And I knew Peter's pride was breaking into pieces he could no longer hold. But what I didn't know yet was this: Peter's next move would not be about money. It would be about revenge. And when a desperate man feels cornered, he becomes dangerous. The city moved like it always did, cars honking, traders shouting, school children in uniforms laughing as they walked. But for me, the air felt heavier. I knew Peter was cornered, and when prideful men are cornered, they don't surrender. They strike. Peter sat in his dark apartment, curtains drawn, bottles scattered on the table. His once perfect suit jacket was crumpled on the floor. He stared at his phone, scrolling through social media posts. Bride exposes groom at the altar. Self-made businesswoman shuts down fraudulent merger. His name was everywhere, but not with respect. He smashed the phone against the wall. "Grace thinks she's won," he muttered. "She thinks she can ruin me and walk away smiling." His eyes burned with hate. "If I can't have her empire, I'll burn it." 3 days had passed since Felix's warning. At noon, the black SUVs returned. Felix walked in, calm as always, but his men carried iron rods this time. "Peter," Felix said softly, "where is my money?" Peter's lips trembled. I don't have it yet. The investors." Felix waved his hand, and 2 men slammed Peter's desk to the floor. Papers scattered like broken promises. "You have 24 hours, Felix said, leaning close. "Or I collect differently. Maybe not money. Maybe blood. Choose wisely." Then he left, leaving Peter gasping in the ruins of his office. Sandra avoided Peter's calls, but he showed up at her apartment, wild-eyed. He banged on her door until she opened. "Help me," he shouted. "Felix will kill me. Grace has destroyed me. You're the only one I have left." Sandra shook her head. "No, Peter. You used me. I almost lost everything because of you. I won't follow you into this fire." He grabbed her wrist. "If you won't help me, then at least don't stand in my way. Grace must pay." Sandra pulled free, terrified. "Peter, don't do anything foolish. You'll regret it." But he was already gone, muttering to himself. Meanwhile, I was meeting with my doctor for a routine check. The baby's heartbeat was strong. My mother smiled, relief softening her face. But as we left the clinic, Mr. Brown called me. His voice was serious. "Grace, my sources tell me Peter is planning something reckless. He's been asking questions about your office schedule. You need to be careful." I took a slow breath. "Thank you. We will increase security. But I won't live in fear." When I reached my office, I told Tun to double-check every entry point. "No visitors without clearance," I said. "Not even familiar faces. Let silence protect us." That night, as I sat reviewing contracts, another anonymous email came in. "He plans to strike at your company. Not for money. For revenge. Tomorrow." I stared at the screen, my heart calm but heavy. Peter's empire was gone. Felix's threat was closing in. Now his pride had chosen a new target, me. I closed my laptop and whispered, "Let him come. I built this empire from scratch. I know how to protect it." But deep inside, I also knew this. Tomorrow could be the most dangerous day of my life. Morning came heavy with clouds, as if the sky already knew trouble was near. I dressed simply for work, a cream blouse and flat shoes, nothing loud. My mother begged me, "Grace, stay home today. Rest. Let your staff handle the office." I kissed her forehead gently. "Mama, fear gives power to those who don't deserve it. If I hide, he wins." She sighed, but I could see the pride in her eyes. Across town, Peter was pacing like a man about to lose his shadow. He hadn't shaved in days, his eyes were bloodshot, and his shirt stuck to him with sweat. On the table lay a small jerrycan half filled with petrol and a lighter. He muttered to himself, "If I can't have her company, no one will. Let the world see her empire burn like she burned me." One of his old friends tried to talk him out of it. "Peter, this is madness. You'll go to jail. Forget Grace, start fresh." But Peter snapped, "Fresh? I'm finished already. She took my investors, my contracts, even Felix wants my blood. This is my last move." At 11 a.m., I was in the boardroom with Ada and Tund, reviewing a new distribution deal. Suddenly Joy, my receptionist, burst in, her face pale. "Madam, Peter is here," she whispered. He forced his way past the guard. Before I could respond, the door slammed open. Peter stood there, wild, holding the jerrycan. His presence sucked the air out of the room. Staff screamed and ducked under tables. "Grace," he shouted, eyes blazing. "You ruined me. You stole everything. If I can't have your empire, I'll burn it down." He splashed petrol across the floor, the sharp smell filling the room. Ada covered her mouth. Tund moved protectively in front of me. I stood steady, my hands resting on the table. My heart beat fast, but my voice was calm. "Peter, listen to yourself," I said. "You ruined yourself with lies. I only protected what was mine. Don't make your shame worse." But he shook his head, raising the lighter. "You think you're untouchable? Watch me." Before he could strike, the boardroom doors swung open again. Two men in plain suits stormed in, followed by Mr. Brown and a police officer. "Peter Johnson," the officer barked. "Drop it. You are under arrest for attempted fraud, forgery, and now attempted arson." Peter froze. His eyes darted between the lighter and the officers. Sweat dripped down his forehead. How did you know?" he stammered. I stepped forward, my voice firm. "Because silent revenge doesn't just expose lies. It prepares for the storm. You walked into your own trap, Peter." Mr. Brown held up the recording, the one where Peter tried to sell fake shares. "We filed the petition 2 days ago. The fraud unit has been waiting for your move." Peter's knees buckled. The lighter fell from his hand, clattering harmlessly to the floor. The officers cuffed him as he screamed, "Grace, you think you've won? This isn't over." I looked at him one last time. "It is over. For you." As they dragged him out, the room was silent except for the sound of Ada's soft sobs. Joy trembled, whispering, "Madam, are you okay?" I nodded. "I'm fine. We're all fine." I walked to the window, looking out at the city. The sun was breaking through the clouds, light spilling across the busy streets. My baby kicked gently, and I pressed a hand to my stomach. "We are safe," I whispered. "And stronger." But deep down, I knew this wasn't just the end of Peter. This was the beginning of rebuilding trust, not just for my company, but for myself. Because silent revenge had done its work. And the world had witnessed it. The day Peter was arrested was not the end, it was the beginning of his reckoning. The court case moved quickly because the evidence was clean. His fake documents, his recorded calls, his attempt to sell shares he never owned, it all stood against him. I sat in the courtroom once, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to face him with calm eyes. He stood in the dock, thinner now, his once polished face rough with regret. When our eyes met, he looked away. The judge's voice rang clear. "This court finds the defendant guilty of fraud, forgery, and attempted arson. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, with restitution to be paid." Gasps filled the room. Sandra, sitting quietly at the back, bowed her head. Felix's men were not there. Rumor had it Felix himself had decided Peter was no longer worth his attention. A broken debtor has no value to a collector. A week later, Felix sent me a message through one of his men. It was short: "You handled him well. You are smarter than he ever was. Respect." I understood what it meant. Felix would not trouble me. In our city, even the most feared men know when to respect clean strength. One evening, Sandra came to my house. She looked smaller than before, her pride stripped away. She stood at my gate, holding a small bag. "Grace," she said, her voice trembling, "I came to say I'm sorry. I thought I was special to him. I believed his lies. But I see now, I was just another pawn. Please forgive me." I studied her quietly, then said, "Sandra, betrayal hurts most when it comes from people close. But forgiveness is not for you, it's for me. I release you. Go and live better." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. And she walked away, her shoulders lighter. Back at the office, things blossomed. Investors who had once paused returned, stronger than before. Clients doubled their orders, saying my courage gave them faith. My staff worked with fresh energy. Ada smiled as she showed me the latest report. "Madam, our revenue this quarter has tripled. The scandal made us stronger." I nodded. Because we turned betrayal into discipline. Pain into power. At home, my mother hummed as she prepared soup. The baby kicked stronger now, reminding me every day that life was still growing inside me. On a Sunday morning, I stood on my balcony, watching the city wake. The streets buzzed with people chasing their hustle. The air smelled of roasted corn and hope. I thought of Peter, not with anger, but with clarity. He had tried to use my name, my money, my love, and even my company as his stepping stones. But what he never understood was this: true power is not in stealing, but in building. I whispered to myself, "Love is beautiful, but trust is earned. Business is numbers, but numbers mean nothing without character. Silent revenge is not shouting, not fighting with noise, it is moving with wisdom until the enemy destroys himself." I placed my hand on my belly and smiled. "We are safe," I said. "We are stronger. And we rise." The chapter of betrayal was closed. The new chapter of self-love, strength, and legacy had begun.